Welcome back to another clay video. Today we are going to create the world map from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. This map is going to be much different because I want to try to match this curvature we can see in the picture. I decided on using some aluminum foil. I'm going to smash this into a rough half potato shape, and once I'm satisfied with the shape, I'll take some clay left over from other projects and cover our potato. However, this potato does not have enough curve, so I'm going to add in this thick worm to build up a more gradual curve. After it's smoothed out, just like a real baked potato, we need to poke a bunch of holes in it to let the air escape. And this will prevent air from building up underneath the surface and making a bunch of bubbles that make me want to throw this across the room. After baking, it seems to be a pretty perfect match for the map, so let's start coating it in some water and land. This can get a little bit tricky because fresh clay doesn't always stick to hardened clay very good. However, if we push it down enough, it should stay in place. The first landmark I'm going to create is the giant mountain in the background. Something very unique about this map, similar to A Link to the Past, we have two different maps. We have essentially a good and evil map. And out of the two options, I think it only makes sense to create the evil map because it matches the theme of the game much better. Basically, these evil purple mushrooms from space come down and try to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, so everything gets covered in these purple mushrooms, and being the main story of the game, I think it only makes sense to make this version. Like every good Mario map, we have dirt, we have water, and we have grass. I'm going to leave the mountain as is for now, but we will come back to it. For now, I want to work on laying down the grass and the rest of the landscaping. With maps, I find it best to create all of the foundation first and then move on to creating the locations. And speaking of which, we are done with the foundation, so we are going to move on to our first location. I had created this entire location, but I didn't compare it to the map, so everything was a little bit too small. Starting over, I will make sure it's all properly sized. After filling in the gaps, we can start to rebuild this once again. On the top, we have this little tower, and we will come back to finish up the little grassy details later. Making sure to properly size it this time, we are going to start working on Bowser's castle. I'm cutting out a bunch of jagged rocks, and we're going to use these to surround our main platform. With that in place, we will start working on the castle. And this castle is full of tiny little details. It was a little tricky, but I managed to get the door in place. Now this is the part that gave me a lot of trouble. If you can't tell yet, I'm creating a tiny baby Bowser on top of the castle. Since I feel like you can't really tell watching the video, I'm going to give you a little size comparison. This is a penny. This is our castle. Yeah, it's pretty tiny. Over here, we're going to create a very unique looking forest. Usually with trees, I cut out a bunch of tree trunks, place them down, and make little treetops to go on top. However, this one I'm doing much different. I'm using a base, essentially a giant tree trunk. We're going to cover the outside of it in a bunch of tiny little trees. And I'm hoping this is going to simulate the look of an entire forest. And the treetops are really cool. They simulate the trees inside of the forest, and it's just a bunch of tiny little spirals. Right in the center of our map, we have the Shroob Castle. And this thing is super detailed. On the top of the castle, we have a bunch of mushroom stems, and we have the Shroob Queen, but there's only so much detail you can create at this tiny scale, so this is our shroob queen. Finally, let's add on some mushroom tops and some spots. We can remove this from the table and stick it onto our map. Our map is really starting to fill out, but we do have a number of locations left to make. When I mentioned we'd come back to this first location and add in some details, what I really meant is I completely forgot that these bushes were here, and we're coming back to fix it. On the back right side of the map, we have a desert. For the most part, the desert is very empty, but we do have a Colosseum, or rather, a Koopaseum. In this part of the story, you go inside of the Colosseum and fight some enemies. However, despite your best efforts, you fail and get knocked down into the caves below. Of course, when you go to this location, it's much more detailed, but the map pretty much just shows a giant Koopa shell. Using my fingers, I formed out this star. However, it has an extra point than most stars, and this is the main platform on top of the mountain. On top of that, we have a lighter shade, followed by a tiny little star. Next, we have Holly Jolly Village, which is one of my favorite locations because it has a Christmas theme. And honestly, there's not a lot of video games that have Christmas-themed areas. On the side of it, we have a cluster of mushrooms. Next is the Thwomp Volcano, which we will create by building up a bunch of tiny little rocks. Once we get to the top, we have the hole and the little barrier around it. Finally, let's cover the mountain in a bunch of moss, and we can put this onto the map and add in a bunch of clouds. For the clouds, I'm just taking a bunch of balls of white clay and smashing them into place until it looks like a nice puffy cloud. Our final location in the center is Toad Town. However, it's seen better days. After being attacked by the shroobs, it got covered in mushrooms and looks pretty destroyed. I haven't done this one in a very long time, but I'm going to create this grass texture. I love creating this. It's so easy to do, but it looks so good. On top of this, we'll add in some bushes and some more stems for mushrooms. Let's get all of these mushroom tops in place, and then we can start working on the little toad houses. With the houses complete and placed into our Toad Town, now we are ready to get baked. After baking, there is nothing else we have to do, so here it is, the world map from Mario and Luigi, Partners in Time. I hope you're enjoying the series of Mario and Luigi maps. I don't say this too often, but this might be my new favorite map. Next video is going to be something not Mario. If you want to try to guess what that is, go ahead and join my Discord and join the guessing game. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.